Hey guys, coming up, we have an interview with Al Bartell. We got some good stuff coming up, and you stay tuned and listen and sit back. This is your girl, Edrinna Marie. Real talk, real stories.
Real talk, real stories with Edrinna Marie. Real talk, real stories with Edrinna Marie. Real talk, real stories with Edrinna Marie.
Real talk, real stories with your girl, Edrinna Marie. We're live in the building at Reverb Radio, Hard Rock Cafe, guys. We have today in the building one of my favorite, closest friends that does some great things in the community, Mr. Al Bartell. Al, how are you doing today?
Doing great, doing great. It's good to be here. Real talk, all the way live. I'm loving it.
Well, hey, we've been having a great, awesome, and amazing, extraordinary year, especially with all of these campaigns and stuff going on.
Yeah.
Just tell me just a little bit, what has been your insight on this next upcoming election?
Well, wild and crazy is an understatement. That's my insight.
Okay.
The political parties have broken down. They're not able to put forward candidates. It is as if the presidential primary has already been pre-selected. We want this guy and this guy to run again. So the question is, what happened to the American public? Do we get a chance to have a say? And how can we do that?
Wow, and that makes a lot of sense because we have a lot of different citizens, just regular working people that really haven't made a decision on which way to sway this thing, And we really want to get down and dirty in the insides.
We do.
So I know that you guys have been kind of grassroots here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And the assembly is coming up. Hold on, let me look at my notes.
Yeah.
The General Assembly has begun in Georgia. So
Yes, it has.
what is your thoughts about that particular?
Well, the Georgia General Assembly is clearly inside of the political season. So they're trying to position themselves to be aligned with the larger conversation, and it's not working.
Right,
Because local people, we want real issues about health care.
Right.
We want real issues about voters' rights. We want real issues about violence prevention.
Right, exactly. And that's my big thing, too, with the especially violent prevention, because we have a lot of crime in the community, and we expect as a community that people that we put in place that are hired to protect and serve our people have not been really doing their job. So we're here really just to hold people accountable.
We are.
And we're going to start right here on the west side of Atlanta, guys. This is your girl, Edrinna Marie, Real Talk, Real Stories. We're in the building with Al, doing some real extraordinary things, getting down to these issues because we must be the change, and we need to really break down the barriers of who, what, when, where, and how.
Absolutely.
We're not expecting people to continue to come in these communities that's supposed to protect and serve us, and they're not doing their jobs. So we're going to hold them accountable and give us a few things on what that looks like from your campaign too, Al, because I know that you guys have such a great strategy that has been working in our community, and it's been a little, wavy a little bit.
And rocky.
And rocky, of course, but to implement one part of it at a time. Explain that a little bit, and let's just get down on the west side of grassroots.
Yeah, on the west side, one part at a time.
One part at a time.
And so we can no longer turn our future, our lives, over to institutions. We can't turn it over to nonprofits. We can't turn it over to for-profits.
Right.
We can't turn it over to a city council or a county commission. We just can't do that. So we are the ones who are coming to save us. Neighborhood leaders, community leaders, faith leaders, and small business leaders deserve a seat at the table to the same degree as lobbyists, special interest groups, and corporations.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense. And that's just kind of like, guys, we just went all the way into the whole layout, okay? Now, if you didn't catch that, let them explain that one more time in a simple form here.
Yeah.
What is that formula again, Al? Just one more time for the audience, because I don't think they really heard you clearly. What do we need in the community?
We have to have neighborhood leaders, community leaders, faith leaders, and small business leaders have a seat at the table when decisions are being made to the same degree as lobbyists, special interest groups, and corporations.
Lobbyists, special groups and all of these corporations, we are here holding you accountable. We from the west side of Atlanta, this is your girl, Edrinna Marie, real talk, real stories. And we're here really just to bring you these issues that needs to be discussed on how we can be the change. So I'm excited that you came in today, Al, and we do have an interview with you that we're going to play.
Okay, good.
So I'm so excited about that. We're going to run that too as well. And
Good.
we had Miss Jackson on the line. If anybody know about Miss Jackson, hey Miss Jackson, I didn't get you this time, but girl, we need you back up in here. Al, how do you feel about all of the growth that's going on over here on the west side?
Well, it's clear that the west side is the gateway to the entire future of Atlanta.
Wow. And why do you say that?
Well, North Side Drive that comes up and down, it's like the mayors, several mayors, stood on West Side Drive with a starter pistol and pulled the trigger, and all of the mega investment rushed over to the west side. The thing was missing, they didn't include community.
Right. Because I remember when Arthur Blank came in and Dan Cathy, they said they were going to do some extraordinary things over here. We did get the West Side Works, which is awesome.
Right.
And the City of Refuge.
Right.
Which was supposed to be programs in the community.
Correct.
But I have found it very hard for some of the
Very
locals
hard.
to even be able to
Very
get into
hard.
those
They
structures.
don't have a seat at the table.
We got all the money that's rolling in, but let's
no
not
seat at the
forget
table.
about the
Participate.
people that
So we
that are
gotta
here.
have our communities on the west side at the table,
Right.
not an afterthought.
Right.
We're no longer willing to be an afterthought. So the growth is here, the investment is here. Now let's include the people who live here.
Let's
There's
include the
a bright
people.
bright future for Atlanta, particularly the west side. The question is who's going to be included in that future and who's going to be left behind. So we have to, Edrinna, make sure that the people who live here are not left behind.
And that is so important because I grew up on the west side.
Yeah.
It's so funny. And this is the reason why I really started this show is because in 2016 when my son was assassinated
Absolutely.
on Martin Luther King and Joseph Laurie, it was a really sad moment for me because I have always been an advocate for the west side.
Always.
And just being an advocate for 19 years before this happened,
That's right.
it kind of made me sit on the back burner like, hey, look, I'm actually going through the same thing that I advocate for in the community.
You are.
So how can I be that change? And so with Real Talk, Real Stories, with your girl Edrinna Marie, of course, I have established a platform that people like yourself and people from our community
That's what's critical.
that can really, really voice their opinions about who, what, when, where, and how, and stop waiting on people to do stuff for us in our community.
Well, Real Talk and Real Stories is on the court, and you provide a platform for people on the court. So we acknowledge you, we appreciate you, and we stand with you to make this a part of the critical communication for the West Side.
Hey guys, West Side Atlanta guys. Hey, Real Talk, Real Stories, your girl Edrinna Marie. We are definitely in the building. Hey guys, look, make sure you tune in and just check out our YouTube channel. This is all new for us, but guess what? We're starting strong. We're keeping God first, and we're holding our community accountable, okay? So be the change. Tune in, guys. This is your girl, Edrinna Marie. Real Talk, Real Stories. When is enough enough? So I have been working on some new music for the last couple of months. And when is enough enough? I'm going to drop that a little bit, let you guys hear a little bit of that. And it just really tells a story about the crime, the things that I experienced from my son transitioning and not being the victim, but being victorious.
Oh, yes, exactly.
Because I'm not going to sit back and wait for the who, what, when, where, and hows now. I am going to be the change. We're going to be the change.
Absolutely.
And it starts with us. So guys, check out When Is Enough Enough? my new single, and I'm looking forward to it. This your girl, Edrinna Marie. Real talk, real story. Al, thank you so much for coming.
Always, always.
It's a pleasure.
Absolutely, likewise. No.
Give them a shout out going out and let them know, let the people know how they can find you.
Sure. Well, the shout out is go to albartell.com because it puts on display that leadership is real, leadership is connected, and leadership is community. I'm a demonstration of that. My life is a demonstration of that. And those of us who really care need to come out, be involved, and stay on the court.
Wow. Come out, be involved, and stay on the course. Hey guys, tune in. We're going to take a quick little break and we'll be right back with these messages. Guys, check us out at Reverb Radio in the building, live and ineffective, I tell you. So we'll be right back, guys.
Great.
Real talk, real stories. Edrinna Marie.
We would like to now take a minute to give a shout out to a special friend of Real Talk, Real Stories with Edrinna Marie. Broccoli Exterminators with over 40 years of experience, which includes free inspections, clearance letters, and senior discounts of 10%. Satisfaction guaranteed. So for all your exterminator needs, please give Broccoli Exterminators a call at 404-782-1626. That's Broccoli Exterminators. 404-782-1626. Now back to Real Talk, Real Stories with Edrinna Marie.
All right, guys, it is hot, and we are just dropping these hot topics, and you guys are going to be so excited to know who I have in here, Mr. Al Bartell, running for governor, okay, for the state of Georgia. A neighborhood leader, a community leader, a faith leader, small business leader, a corporate leader, and a government leader. Who can do it best? Mr. Al Bartell for our next governor of Georgia. Now I'm going to welcome him. Come on in, Al. Let us know what is motivating you to run for governor for the state of Georgia.
Well, that's a good lead-in because I am absolutely happy to be here. Because what is motivating me is the communication that you're having. And that is neighborhood leaders.
That's right.
Community leaders.
That's right.
Faith leaders and small business leaders.
That's right.
That's what's motivating me to run for governor here in Georgia.
Wow, that is so exciting, guys. You know, I don't know how to act because I think I'm supposed to act a certain way when you meet with officials in offices and stuff, you know? So I'm trying to keep my composure. I am sitting here across from Mr. Al Bartell, and I am feeling very professional here. Okay, so, but we do, as the community, we do have some great questions that we have put out there, and we wanted to know just a couple of answers to your point of view on what's going on with this pandemic in our government and how we are in government are mandating these masses in the community since, you know, we are on this COVID-19 restriction with all of these masses. So tell me, Al Bartell, what is your input on it?
What the pandemic put on display is how disconnected these public health institutions are from community.
Right.
To distribute masks, to distribute medicine. We had people dying in nursing homes.
Right, that's true.
All because the institutions are disconnected from community.
Right, and that's a big issue here in Atlanta because I grew up around the rural areas. I would say the Northwest Quadrant, that's like from Northside Drive to Cascade area. And I've been in the community myself for over like 20 years advocacy. So my thing is that I see a lot of companies that come into the community and say, hey, yeah, this is the highest rural area where we can get our return back, but I'm only going to give them 1%. And that 1% out of their return is like crumbs to a bird that was trying to fly with no milk. Okay?
Okay.
So I want to know, and the people want to know, how are we going to be able to continue to keep that open communication with our community on the tools that we have right around us that they are not telling us about, but they're placing their businesses in these communities and they're eating very well.
Yeah. Community is in communication.
Right.
The community has been in communication. Who's not in communication is government. The reason being,
That makes sense.
who's in their eardrums is lobbyists, special interest groups, and corporations. So I'm interested as governor in putting a statewide framework in place that has neighborhood leaders, community leaders, faith leaders, and small business leaders have the exact same access to public policy.
Right.
A seat at the table,
Wow.
like
seat at the
lobbyists,
table.
special interest groups, and corporations, because community is in communication.
That's right. That's right. That is so interestingly formulated. Again, I feel weird sitting with officials, so I'm gonna act like a lady and stand like a goddess. But I want to also talk about the rising crime rate
Yes.
and the product of the pandemic, and how does that contribute to our disabled
Sure.
family members that's in those
Yeah.
areas that,
Yeah.
like pretty much the point you just made. But I just want to talk about the crime because that goes up until pandemic crime. That's
Yeah.
what we've been dealing with in this rural area. So
It's like front and back of the same hand because it both impacts community.
right,
So if it were not for neighborhood, community, faith, and small business leaders, crime and violence would be more.
right.
So it's now time to give community the accountability and the responsibility to pick our leaders.
Most
My whole
definitely.
campaign, I was called out by community. There's a group called Street Groomers.
Wow.
They have been inside of the community for years.
Yes, they have.
And I said, I was not running for office anymore. I'm going to go be an activist.
That's right.
They said to me, you don't get to say.
Ooh.
The community gets to say whether you run or not you. So they called me out and say, Al, you've been talking about community. You've been for community. As street groomers, we're letting you know you cannot sit on the sidelines. We want you to run for governor
That's
in
right.
2022.
And the power is in the people. We must be the change. This is so awesome and amazing to have this interview with you today. And I'm looking forward to you come back on our show so that we can talk a little bit more about your campaigning and where you're going and some of the bullet points that if the community wanted to reach out to you and say, hey, Al, Bartell, how can I work for you guys and come be a part of the change that what you all are doing in the community?
The invitation is alive on the website of bartellforgovernor.com. We're ready and able to serve.
And the co-founder, Stone, of Street Groomers, we just interviewed them. So tell me your association with that.
L.A. Pink and Stone designed an outreach conversation for street groomers. Street groomers is made up of neighborhood leaders, community leaders, faith leaders, and small business leaders. They tracked me as being a champion for community.
Yes, that's awesome.
Talking about community and giving my life to community. Then all of a sudden, I'm going to say, I'm not going to run again.
Wow.
They weren't going to have it.
So you were really pulled in from the street groomers. I mean,
By the street
by
groomers.
the street groomers.
That's correct.
And they came to your home or wherever you were in the community and say, hey,
It
Al Bartell?
was even worse than that. They put it out on social media and called me out,
No, they didn't.
saying, you community,
No, they
you a
didn't.
leader, and you don't
Yes.
want to run,
Right.
you don't get to say. The community gets to say.
Right, and that's so important for us to have such a faith base in our
Exactly.
community, and just
Exactly.
especially the community leaders like yourself, because you have a track record of strategizing and organizing
I do.
and implementing
I do.
and putting that thing all the way up through there
Yeah.
and making sure that we came from the core.
Exactly. So
And
they
these
called
are the
me out.
issues.
They called me
Yes.
out with the age-old cultural heritage point, which is the following.
Wow.
To whom much is given,
Mm-hmm.
much is required.
Right, and you know what? I have that. I guess that saying you just said.
Yeah.
I feel like that all the time. Okay, so it's so enlightening to be around that, to be in the presence of us coming together like that.
Well, when they
That's
called
exciting.
me out, when street groomers called me out, it sharpened, called up my own integrity as a leader.
And I just want to give a testimony for myself, because, we're not supposed to speak things that's not true. So I'm going to give my testimony of the street groomers.
Yeah.
Because I did come from community base. About 3 years ago, my son was murdered in front of me on Martin Luther King and Joseph Laurie.
Exactly.
One of the co-founders, brother Haru, he actually came into the intersection of taking care of me as I was going through those trials and tribulations in my mindset. Because anytime a child has been taken away from anybody in a community setting, it pulls from us women. It's a hollering call for action.
It is.
And to see that be implemented coming from our brothers, the ones we would least expect. I had gang members standing over me in a collective setting for a year and a half. Yeah. And they sat there. Haru from Street Groomers made sure he had somebody on post from the morning, the afternoon, to at night. Because we also are dealing with a lot of disability families that are in these communities that are like
all
this.
day and all night. And
all
that's
day.
the spirit that called me out as a leader.
Right. So I kind of feel like Haru came to you.
That's right.
And it was roaring like a lion.
Exactly.
And stinging like a bee.
Stinging.
And anybody that come our way, we're going to defeat. But
collectively, we can roll.
We can roll.
And that's what they said to me, and I said yes.
That's a charge to keep,
I think so too.
And I think God would be very pleased with, your attribute that you will be bringing to strategizing. Because it's one thing about us stabilizing as a people in a community, but we also have to have certain points to what's going on in the community, for its government, church, the streets. We have to be around all of that.
Of course we do. And it'll be my accountability as governor to make sure that is at the table when decisions are being made.